The Diaspora Affairs Office, hosted in the Office of the President, came into being under the leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2017 as part of involving the diaspora in nation building. The office, first of its kind, is responsible for the formulation and implementation of the diaspora engagement policy. My guest is the Director of the Diaspora Affairs, Office of the President, Mr. Akwasi Awua-Ababio. This is Diplomatic Affairs. Follow me and let's have a fruitful conversation.
In previous seasons, you saw this.
You are not allowed to hawk or preach in commercial vehicles.
The perception in Ghana is abortion is illegal, and we don't follow up with the exceptions.
The existence of the customary marriage is no prerequisite
for the ordinance
marriage.
Yes. And now, are you ready for this?
Some people express the fact that they don't go on leave with pride.
Accumulated leave, like they term it, is illegal.
Because in Ghana we don't have enough lawyers, and the accused can apply for bail where he has no lawyer.
Knowing full well that you have an STI and you do not reveal that to the person and you have the sexual contact with the person, it is also part of domestic violence.
Join the Law Express panel for relevant, informative, and educative topics.
It is clear that if the court grants bail, it is the registrar of the court that has the power to deal with execution of the bail.
All matrimonial properties that are sold without the consent of the other party are actually null and void.
Today is going to be another interesting conversation on the show. In focus is the Diaspora Affairs Office, stationed here at the Jubilee House, Office of the President. And of course, the director himself is here joining us to tell us all we need to know about the Diaspora Affairs Office. And of course, someone said to me the other time that Christmas is a whole year celebration in Ghana, and I am curious to learn why. Director.
Hi, Harriet.
How are you?
I'm good. And
it's
you?
good to have you on Diplomatic Affairs.
Yeah, I've been looking for you all this time, so it's good to have you here. And I guess I could say this on behalf of the President and the Chief of Staff, that you are very much welcome to the
Thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. We know how busy you can be, and so we are so grateful for your time today. Now, someone said to me that Christmas is a whole year celebration in Ghana. Do you agree?
Very much so. I think, yeah, that's as a measure of success of what we have been doing, not just by ourselves, but with other, supporting agencies. Most in particular with the GTA and the GRPC and the Foreign Affairs. Everyone has been working their socks off, to just make Ghana the place to be for Christmas. And I'm glad the President himself has led that initiative right from the word go. So we are here. We are where we are today because of some inputs, and that is what we know for certain that is the reason why the traffic is all headed towards Ghana every December, every Christmas, every year.
Right. Now that the ice is broken, let me introduce to you my guest. He is Mr. Akwasi Awua-Ababio, and of course, like I rightly stated earlier, he is the director here at the Diaspora Affairs Office. Now, can we begin the conversation already?
Seriously.
All right. This office came into being in 2017.
Exactly.
And right when the president took office. Why is this office so important in the development of our country?
I think it's a measure of how the president sees the diaspora. For every country, I believe it is obvious that the people are its best assets. Forget about the gold, the oil, everything. The people are what makes the country a country. And of course, we as Ghanaians have been lucky to have had our people going all over the place, way back, even as the exit point for slavery, how many people have left the country to become, descendants of the slaves in America and, all the place, Caribbean and all over. So if you take that big number of people out there, the Ghanaians who for recent times have had the need by either some relationship or some, economic education, whatever, may have found themselves living elsewhere, are all that mass of diaspora that we can look at to say, this is an asset. Let's see how we can harness it. Let's see how we can nurture it. Let's see how we can, have them play a role in our socio-economic development. And that's what the necessity created the need for the president to make sure that we are the highest, level of governance, and that is right under his nose at the presidency.
Now, after the establishment of this office, you are the first person to be directing affairs, as in paving the way for things to happen in this office. We would also like to know you briefly so we can connect you to the office. Exactly.
Okay, thank you. I think, yes, fully blooded Ghanaian. And I've done a lot of schooling and, staying here in Ghana in the past. I'm lucky to have attended Opokuari Secondary School, the Kumasi base.
Well, I went to Kumasi Girls in
the
Ashanti region.
I see. Oh,
yes.
See, must have crossed paths somewhere. Not my generation, I believe.
Not what you're thinking.
Yeah. Anyway, but certainly, having lived and done so many things here, I've always wanted to bring in the conversation that even though I was a Kumasi boy, I came to Accra and learned my language, my Ghana speaking in Kumasi before coming to Accra. So even before I came to Accra, I could speak Ghana. And that was after schooling, after university and everything, lived here. And then, like most Ghanaians, found my way out of Ghana. I went to live in the UK, and whilst living in the UK, played various roles and consultancy. I found myself all over the continent, most especially in Scandinavian countries. So that is me, as an IT consultant in the field of insurance and banking and in the finance industry, the necessary things that we needed to do to get these organizations and the IT, going in terms of, BI, what used to be business intelligence, now artificial intelligence and everything. Yeah, so I've been involved in that. And for me, what makes me glad I played those roles were the fact that in all the countries that I lived, I had the opportunity to relate to Ghanaians, to have the exposure of the Ghanaian communities. And that was a very good platform to build on. And of course, when His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was campaigning all over the place, he wasn't just campaigning in Ghana here. He was, of course, campaigning in Europe as well. And, I was lucky to have been his coordinator in the UK and then other countries as well. So it followed that after winning power, I needed to come and help. And he never hesitated.
Come and serve home.
Exactly. And he never hesitated to say, Akwasi, this is the role I have to get you into. I said, thank you, and gladly picked up. And here I am today, been in this office for quite some time now.
That's wonderful. Now that we know you, at least we can connect, actually know why you were the best person to have chosen for this job. So you do believe, as a former diasporan yourself, if I could put it that way, you can easily relate with the needs and how hungry the diaspora has been in coming home and contributing to the growth of our country. Can we talk about our readiness prior to this initiative?
I think in terms of our readiness, I would say Ghanaians, for that matter, and Ghana as a country, has always felt the need to put themselves forward for the diaspora to come back to them. Not just the Ghanaian diaspora, but the bigger diaspora community, which is the historical diasporans as well. So yes, in that sense of the word, Ghana has always been preparing itself. I think we could go back to all the past governments and the previous administrations, etc., to this current one, to see how we have made every effort to court the diaspora back to Ghana. I think as far as the Diaspora Affairs is concerned, we used to have the Diaspora Bureau at the Foreign Affairs, and then now it's been, of course, downgraded to a unit. because of the creation of this office and working closely with them to do whatever we've been doing. Everything that we have succeeded, very much attributable to them as well. So yes, this is just an advancement of the roles and the relationship that we are trying to build with the diaspora community. And I'm glad it's not just being led, as I said, by the office, by the president himself. You know, everywhere he's gone, he's made sure. And of course, the Minister for Tourism, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they are all key and leading it. You know, from the investment fund, the grant and others are all key to making sure that we can push that agenda, and I'm glad they are working partners. But essential diaspora engagement policies anchored on our, you know, to this office and very much, you know, being directed from there.
Let's talk about the role of the diaspora in foreign direct investments. How can we open the doors for them to come in directly, survey, do the recce of the business climate in Ghana, and, you know, eventually take interest in establishing businesses in the country?
I think as a country, we, you know, having realized the need to have our diaspora and therefore to court their, you know, investments and everything, we need to facilitate it as much as possible. A new dawn perhaps is needed for a new climate for diaspora investments, making specific provisions for them. Of course, the cost of transfer of money to Ghana and everything has to be looked at, remittances and how to rechannel our, you know, remittances into investment and everything. The cost of transmission is one. The individual rights of the diasporans should be looked at. The specific rules and regulations that would facilitate their participation, not just in investment, even in the point of actually helping them to play significant roles in our governance, etc. We go a long way to garner the relationship, deepen the trust, deepen the way they want to be related to enable them to, you know, see the country as a place of their own as well, just like anyone living here.
Right, so talking about the role of the diaspora in government, I understand our constitution currently does not allow any diasporan to hold public office.
I think our constitution has got specific provisions as to what the diaspora can do and cannot do. In terms of, it's more of what they cannot do.
Okay.
Because basically, even though we allow for dual citizenship, which wasn't the case, but recent additions to an adjustment to our constitution has now made provision for dual citizenship to the extent that, you know, you can hold on to whatever as long as your host country or adopted other, you know, country allows for that. So, for instance, it's not the same case for those in Germany, but for UK, US specifically, this is perfectly fine. And there's the need to then make sure that, you know, these people cannot just be dual citizenship, but to also have a look at our constitution, which bars them from certain key roles. For instance, you cannot be the special prosecutor, you cannot be a member of parliament, you cannot be a chief director, you cannot be a vice chancellor of a university,
a colonel
in the army, you know, and so many others. That I think the constitution actually makes a list of roles that you cannot play. But more worrying for us, or for the diaspora, and for our future generation of people coming from the diaspora, is that open bracket that it seems to have, that basically can be added to at any time. It was recently that the special prosecutor, for instance, was added to it. So at any point in time, somebody might wake up and say, oh, let's take this in. And I think it's about time we looked at it and see how best we can open up and not keep one hand of the diaspora tied behind their backs as they try to contribute towards the socio-economic development of our country.
In contributing to the socio-economic development of the country, they want more.
Yes.
They want, we are talking about inclusivity, they want access to the political space, and they want to occupy certain leadership roles so they can easily also contribute. Because if you're asking them to come, they are not just coming with money.
No,
you talked about coming with their expertise, coming with the experiences, and all of that. A typical case will be the Ashesi University.
I always cite that example. I'm glad you do that.
Exactly. I read about it, extensively about it, and someone took the chance, decided to come to Ghana and set up a higher education, and it is doing very well.
Very, very well. And it's the reputation that is giving us as an institution, the higher institution, the caliber.
What are the things that we are missing out on if we don't open the brackets constitution-wise?
Exactly. So that is the worry, and that is why we have to look at it and see how we can get all these restrictions in the way, if not completely removed, at least amended to make sure that so many other things can happen with the diaspora, the network of people and the capital that they have. If they're going to be bringing it in, we need to make sure that we can have a compromise as to what they can do. And I think that is very, very important.
When I talked about our readiness as a country, as expressed by some concerned citizens, they were looking at the system in general.
Okay.
And so I would want us, we cannot wait until we say that, I think we are absolutely perfect. And so now we can open our doors to our brothers and sisters out there to come in and join us in building the country. If we were thoroughly done with building of the country, then what would be their use?
And what would be the point where it's thoroughly done? So that's the big challenge.
So some of the challenges that may have come up, let's look at some of the challenges that may have come up, because I personally had a few friends come in for the first time, some for the second time, and they still have plans of coming every now and then, and they have expressed worry about a few practices, that seem to be an issue regarding the way we go about things, such as having to give money before people attend to you, and customer service, and corruption here and there. I feel so these are some of the common ones that actually come up when you're talking to them.
I think you are right to mention the worries that some people have, and that is a legitimate one. Of course, we shouldn't forget that we are what we are. At the same time, we want people to come to us. So as in our preparedness for being what we are, we need to look at our own, review ourselves and see how best we can make ourselves amenable to those who are coming. That is not to say bend backwards and roll over for those who are coming, but let's see how we can work together, compromise, and attitudinal changes that are needed.
We need it for ourselves too.
For ourselves, to see how we can accommodate those who are coming. In that respect, there's so much to be done. There's so much in terms of customer service, in terms of how we receive people, how we deal with them, how we take advantage of visitors, etc. We have to work on this. I know, of course, we have some positives that we can also equally be, putting out there. And a measure of what perhaps we can say is as a preference for us is how, if you take across Africa for that matter, we are the preferred place to come to. And it's not just happening by accident, because there are some positive things that are selling for us. And we need to work on those to see a SWOT analysis, more or less, to see our weaknesses, our strengths, build on it, our weaknesses, see how we can, turn that around, and how we can build on the strengths that we have. And that will go a long way to maintain our Pan-Africanist role, our hospitality roles, our hospitality, known hospitality that we have, and so many things. I think we have a lot going for us. So in terms of our preparedness, I would say that yes, there is so much to be done to get us to where some of those complaints can be met. But that is not to say we are not ready. We are ready, and we are going to keep working on it too. Like you said, and at what point do we say we are ready?
Else we will never
be ready. So yes, whatever we have, we want people to join us, and then together we build this country to the specification that we all desire and we all want it to be.
Right. I think this is where we need to look at the Constitution as soon as possible, so we can open up for them to come in and also share the experiences, knowledge, networks, and everything that we have. I would want us to look at you know, whenever we talk about the diaspora, for me, the first thing that comes in mind is economic diplomacy.
Yes.
Because we are looking at commerce, we are looking at, in plain terms, business. I would want to know which areas, which sector appeals to them the most when they come in, observe, get used to the environment. Which sector do they really want to venture into business-wise?
I think business-wise, for the ordinary diasporians, view of the difficulties that they have with hospitality, most of them, when they come, they want to address the situation.
So that's the first, because they have direct experience.
They're going into that area. And of course, the latest phenomenon of science and technology being critical for development is equally attracting people.
Right.
The fintech areas and all that are equally competitive in trying to draw the attention of the diaspora. So yes, and then of course those who are getting exposed, through our culture, are equally drawn into that area of industry and see how the arts, creative, and
so that's cultural diplomacy.
Exactly.
There.
So that is also drawing equally. Recent visit by
Idris Elba, right?
The pronouncement that we heard in May,
collaboration.
The collaboration. So there's areas that people, they are equally interested in coming to. I've had a long conversation this morning about how colleagues in the UK are looking to see how the strength of that area can be built on, to see how they engage with the country. So yeah, those are certainly areas that are fascinating for them. I think I've been drawing attention to another growing phenomenon area, which is how Ghana, as with all our talent and with all the sports people that we have here, could also be grounds for growing the areas that the diaspora could be involved. Academies, trying to see how we could turn out sportsmen that can also be.
We have lots of talent here.
Yes, so that is something that we should be looking at, and I believe some people have already from the diaspora knowing the values of those sports assets that are there, and seeing how they can also help in growing that sort of talent base at home. I've been talking to some countries and looking at them to say how they should be looking to promote the sports that are prevalent in their countries, like American football, basketball,
right,
etc. These are all areas, and they're interestingly making inquiries, trying to see how they could all get involved in all these areas, and that is very much. And then, of course, as government programs, there are also identifiable things that gives easy identification of where you can be involved. The FDIs, for one district, one factory areas, going for planting for food and jobs, etc. It gives you an immediate touch point that you can also relate and come in and exploit how there is to do in terms of business and commerce. So yeah,
there's a lot in that area. Now that we've identified the bottlenecks, can we look at how best you are working with your stakeholders? I know the Ghana Investments Promotion Authority, you work with them, Ghana Exports Promotion Authority, all of these agencies. How best and how quickly can we at least match up to creating that conducive environment for them to come in and thrive well?
I think the first thing that we need to do is in respect of identifying the stakeholders, as you said, which are the obvious ones that we know, and seeing how we can then work together to do what is needed. I think stakeholder analysis has been taking place of some sorts in the past. I'm glad that there are agencies, non-governmentals, who are ready and willing to help us in this direction. I can't but need to mention how GIZ, is helping out in this respect, capacity building, seriously engaged with governmental and non-governmental institutions, trying to see how that can be, addressed. And then, of course, the working relationship that needs to exist between us, how we need some working framework to enable this to happen, which is, of course, that you come to the diaspora engagement policy. That policy document and the framework is going to clearly define and needs coordination. And that is going to go a long way to do this. So there are several initiatives that, has to be in place to do this. And I'm glad, we are working together to address it.
Talking about the diaspora engagement policy, how far has the conversation gone?
Yes, in fact, it has gone, as we sit here, I could tell you that Honorable Shelia Kobuji has, signed it for it to go forward, and it's, right now in the cabinet's hands to see how they can look at it and get something out for us. But I think I feel a little bit down when I look behind us and think how long it's taking to even be where we are. And for various reasons that I don't think, we're going to spend time on. But yes, we are going forward. And the only good thing about whatever that document might be or might not be is the fact that even without the document, we are more or less executing the document in reality, doing things that will fulfill that policy when it is launched already. So that is very positive. And basically, we are where we are, and sooner we will be able to have the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Can we look at the incentives when it comes to the diaspora?
Yes, I think, of course, there are specific incentives, and it depends on which target group you are looking at and how we are trying to make it easy for them. The average normal Ghanaian in the diaspora coming home is very much like any other Ghanaian,
right.
And the same, benefits and privileges are available to them to take advantage of. For those African Americans who are yet to be fully enrolled, restored their citizenship, that citizenship restoration, once it's given, becomes an incentive for them to also have the equal rights and privileges like every other Ghanaian in terms of investment. So that is a big one for them. I think GRPC is looking specifically at an investment code that would also streamline and facilitate the sort of investment that we are looking for. But on the whole, there are so many privileges and opportunities for people coming down that they can take advantage of that, could be in terms of some, depending on how philanthropic those business initiatives are, how we could let them to, get a benefit of not even paying taxes in some respect. Mm-hmm. So, yes, it all depends on the initiative and how, when they have approached us or approached some government organizations, we can push for them to get those benefits.
That's great. I would want us we'll be wrapping up very soon. I know how busy you are. I don't want to keep you here
I'm enjoying
that long. You're enjoying the conversation. All right then. So I read somewhere, and I'm just going to quote what I read. You said, over the years, Ghana suffered a brain drain.
Yes.
You remember very well these words. As many of us left to live and work abroad, we went through all sorts of experiences and professional fields and contributed to our adopted host country's expansion. We plan to pursue what we call the brain reverse.
Yes.
Tell me more about the brain reverse.
I think this is quite a known phenomenon that we all talk about. So we know that Ghana is one big citadel of education, and that we have the opportunities with our colonial masters and with our language advantage to also pursue education in several places. And Ghanaians have taken advantage of it. I think if you talk to the average employer outside of Ghana, he will tell you how very much they value the Ghanaian as an employee. So that people everywhere, all over the world, gaining all sorts of experience. And they are not just gaining experiences, they are actually building networks. Mm-hmm. These networks, as we've said already, it can be manifested in the creation of something here. Mm-hmm. So we have that benefit of all this that we can bring home. And once the opportunity is ripe, people are prepared to come home. So then the question is, how do we facilitate that return, that brain return, that brain reversal? So in another situation, we even call it the brain recycle.
The brain recycle.
Yes. So basically, what we thought we have lost is actually coming back to us enriched, and then exposed and giving the exposure, and then a flavor can contribute in the long term to attitudinal change that is very much required here. We need to be able to not just be comparing buildings that there are to say, oh, these are the structures that makes this place better. We need to be comparing the capacity and the capabilities of our people as well to see what we can also offer.
With all this, with what you have started, with the establishment of this office, finally we hope that it gets to where we can address it as an institution as we look at the policy. Yeah. I would want to find out from you, when you measure the gains with how much you have put in putting this office out there, are we gaining? Is it?
I think yes, and I wish I didn't have to mark my own script. But if you ask me, I would tell you that yes, there are some basic metrics that would let us say that yes, to a large extent, this has been a big success. If you think about the exposure that we've given the diaspora through the initiatives that we've pursued, if you think about the fact that this diaspora is now a byword for something else we'd never got to be known in the past. As I've said on several platforms, I remember going to, how in Ghana everybody wants to be mentioned by some titles, etc. And I've been to a funeral where they were trying to say what sort of work I was trying to do and, in charge of, and it was a big hurdle. Because the word diaspora was not even known in our language that much, and yet now the diaspora is like everywhere. Not just in respect of on the lips of people talking about the diaspora on the street, seeing everybody doing something, but even institutions embracing it. So that you go to the financial community, for instance, the banks are still looking to see how they can have diaspora-related accounts, diaspora personnel, diaspora-specific units to deal with diaspora issues. You go to the embassies, how they are all queuing up to see how they can have persons that would enable them to relate to this office, to the diaspora, conduit between, and then all the institutions, how higher levels of institutions are coming over to say how my research area is going to be in the diaspora. I suppose the network that you are looking, that you are leading is clearly giving credence to this, and that is something that I can say, yes, we are very proud of. Not just myself, my staff, the president, his initiative to put this out there, to see how we can lead that diaspora, charge has really, worked, and I'm glad, we've done what we've done, and I believe, and I keep saying this, we can do even better. Whoever in the future, I suppose there's so much that can be done. If we have 1/10 of the investment, or in terms of resource that we put in other industries, other initiatives, if we should put that into this diaspora initiative, I bet the rewards will be far more, bigger than what we are seeing. So, yeah, there's so much to be done. There's so much that has been done, and I'm glad that we got all of you on board, to enable us to do this.
Wonderful. Now, I'm going to take a short break, but before I do, I would want us to talk about what's the collaboration between your office and, of course, the embassies, the foreign missions here, when we talk about, Ghanaians in the diaspora, and to a larger extent, Africans in the diaspora.
I think there is a growing, as I said, business in that area, and I'm excited that the embassies and, for that matter, the governments that they represent are beginning to see where we are going with our own initiative, and therefore how they should be supportive. For which reason I would always say GIZ is in that lead of trying to do so many things. The French government have signed in specific, as I speak, I have an agreement sitting at the Attorney General's department that is going to enable the diaspora in the French country, France, to come and do so many things, for those who want to do anything in Ghana. So there's that growing partnership through the embassies. There's the need for that to be enhanced. I recently had the benefit of a visit from the Swiss ambassador here telling us how we can look at how we can, work together, partnerships, etc. So, and the British are responding with a clear designation of personnel as in charge of diaspora. So we are beginning to grow, and we are quite happy with that. And that I believe we seriously need to be able to do the advocacy for Ghana to have that bilateral sort of relationship and agreement with some of these countries to see how, because the diaspora in every community has got different needs and aspirations and things that we can work on to really push, their contributions even further. And we need to be able to, do this advocacy through these embassies to enable these things to happen. I'm glad I've said so much this morning, like I said, to an embassy that came, that's this, we need to work on these areas. Specifics, there are so many specifics. For instance, if you go to America, you're talking about high caliber of some Ghanaians out there, that brain surgeons and things that we can be looking at. Therefore, the Association of Ghana Foundation of physicians and surgeons is one critical association that we need to get the government and the embassies and everyone to work with us, with our College of Physicians here, to utilize that rich knowledge that there exists out there. And then specifics, you could deal with all the countries and know the various requirements and needs, and how the embassies, on that basis, we can work with our ambassadors and to really harness the potential. So there's so much to be done. I've always seen the foreign affairs as the front line of this diaspora engagement.
Because the foreign affairs has to communicate and send the message to Ghana missions abroad, so they can also sell Ghana. I'll take a break. When I come back, then we'll get to talk about the events. That's the part I'm looking forward to.
Right.
Trasacco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasacco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasacco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call
Welcome back. The show is still Diplomatic Affairs, and we are coming to you right here from the Jubilee House, the Diaspora Affairs Office, which is hosted right here in the Office of the President. And my guest has been the Director himself, Mr. Akwasi Awua-Ababio. We've done a lot of talking concerning the mandate of his office since its inception, the gains, the challenges. Now it's time for us to do my favorite part, and I'm sure that's going to be your favorite. Let's talk about the amazing initiatives that your office, in partnership with other stakeholders, came up with or comes up with every year, and that puts Ghana right there, on the map.
Thank you. Very interesting. And of course, you cannot talk about diaspora engagement without those activities at the end of every year. And interestingly, we are trying to see how it can be spread throughout the year, not just for Christmas, just for December.
Now you don't want to trend yearly anymore. You want to trend all year round.
That would be interesting. So yeah, that's the target. That's what we have to do. And again, not just for the events that happen in Accra, but throughout the country.
Right.
Those are the clear objectives that we should set.
I was coming to that. Yes. So how can we sell other regions and not just the capital of Ghana?
I'm glad it's beginning to happen. If you look at the list of programs that were put out by the return, they were scattered all over the country.
So the first one was the homecoming.
The first one was the homecoming.
Okay.
And that was, right from 2017, the first engagement with the diaspora. I think I might just take it even before the homecoming.
Okay.
The president, and that is a measure of his interest in the diaspora, even among the party folks, his first organized meeting with any group of people was with the diaspora at the Lisa Hotel. And that was a measure, an indication of the importance and the relevance that he was looking at the diaspora community in his own sort of, context and environment and the party and everything that had propelled him to power. That's how he saw it. So yes, he has always sort of, put the value and the recognition of the diaspora very high. So yes, you take it forward, and then immediately after that, there was that need to mobilize seriously for a grand, mobilization of the diaspora, and that was the 2017 homecoming. Alex that day was the chairperson. We were all working together, but we actually were able to put together something quickly. And interestingly, during that time, there was an opportunity to engage the African historical diaspora, because then I went out to look for them to say, where are you in this, all this, and then that was how I met Ambassador Bennett and others, and of course they were going to be celebrating their 10 years of the DAF, the institution, and it was a big opening, so they hosted a ball that was at the end of the 2017 homecoming. And then after that, of course, we started gearing ourselves for other things as well. And in the course of it, in 2018, we started with the local launch of the, Beyond the Return. That was when we had started collaborating as agencies to see how we can work together to do this. And of course, the president did the Washington, D.C. home year of return, which was, massive. And everybody started streaming
in
Washington. But the key element and the component that came together, that really brought the stars and the Hollywood guys also giving us that free social media presence, was when the office collaborated with the Full Circle, which is Boris Kujo and the rest, to give us prominence all throughout the social media about how they were coming home, and they came home in their numbers, and they were engaged in all these activities, partying here and there, and making the noise, the right noises, of course, and that has been basically the force that has been propelling us. So Bozuma was part of and a key to that, and she remains key to this, and can also, perhaps in the future tell you secretly about how the forces are behind mobilizing to really have another trust. So there's more to come. But yes, this is where we found ourselves. And then upon that basis, there was seriously the need to then restock and have a look at everything to say, where do we go from here?
Yes, where do we go from here?
And there was an obvious question that was on everybody's mind, that there was the need to make sure that the gains that had been made needed to be consolidated. The pillars, the Beyond the Return was born, and that is supposed to lead us, continue with this, everything, for us to constantly remain. Of course, we cannot talk about this whole thing without talking about COVID and how COVID, came in through expanding the
during the peak of COVID.
Exactly.
COVID is still here with us, even though we talk as if it's gone. It's gone. That was the
at least now people can travel. People can get out in places.
Yes, absolutely. Director, let me ask you something. I love the idea of using Hollywood to project Ghana and put Ghana out there.
And paid for.
Right.
Yeah, we get that.
Absolutely. I'm wondering, when are we looking at Africa?
I think
we have some very interesting personalities also in the music and arts, creative arts space. We can also begin to look at that dimension and bring all of Africa, since you are not just looking at Ghanaians in the diaspora. But when you talk about the diaspora, you're looking at Africans in the diaspora.
Oh, yes, of course. And I think, seriously speaking, I was recently commenting on so many of these programs and initiatives, and I was taking, and I had to mention how, in my opinion, the public, the general public, has taken ownership of these government programs and are running with it. Yes. And they are detecting who and what is happening in almost all the programs.
It's because you are operating an open door policy. So everyone can just come in and share the ideas.
Share the ideas. And some of the events, we even attend ourselves and we go and talk to them and say, hey, how can we partner with you to make it better? I remember going to the party on the hill, which is the Little Havana, and I didn't like it. I was parking my car, dropped my kids at 11 a.m. I couldn't turn the car around until about 5 a.m. in the morning. So I approached them and said, listen, how can we do this? Make it better so that everybody can have a good time when they come here. Know if ambulances were to come to respond to any emergency call, how would they? And then we have been, since then, we've been partners. We've been working together. It's growing. Even the demographics for their participation is changing. Everything is happening on a big scale. So many others, everyone coming forward to do this. Now, I want to come to the point that yes, we are very much open, just like you said, open door to see whoever wants to also have something to do with us. And I'm glad that when Chance the Rapper came, and as soon as we sat down to talk, immediate response and his immediate attitude was, how do we get the local artist involved? And I'm glad, Sarkodie featured prominently in Haitian. And that collaboration is also beginning to, take, and I believe the future, possibly, an all-based African big historic, diaspora movement is going to also have its own platform. But when it comes to music, it knows no bounds. You know that. So absolutely. I'm glad it's happening all over, and yes, the challenge is there for us to. Whenever issues are raised, it's something that is noted and see
how best you can deal with it. Yes. How sustainable is this office?
Yes, sustainability is all dependent on, of course, the people and the government that will come into the future. Yeah, but I think there's one legacy that we are hoping to leave, which is the engagement policy, which will be sustainable. You might decide to call it by any other name. It will still be a cat. It will still cry meow.
It won't cry woo. Cats will always cry. Yes. Absolutely. I think we are done exhausting all the bullet points. It's been a very fruitful conversation. And so at this moment, is Beyonce coming to Ghana? I'm picking something like Beyonce is coming to Ghana, and that excites me a lot, of course.
I think you may know something that I've heard. But then, of course, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I can say for now. I can't see how what we are trying to position Ghana as and what it is already, that's the mecca of the black.
Right.
I can't see how she wouldn't come. It's going to be the place to come for everyone. Wow. Steve Harvey has been and gone. What else? The guy is a comedian. What's Michael Jackson and Chappelle.
Oh.
These are all interesting people who have come. And I tell you, the queue, some people have come and they've stayed
low-key, huh?
Low-key, We all know, for instance, this British artist and others, British model, Naomi Campbell.
Right, she was in town.
This guy from the fashion end, this guy comes frequently, Oswald Boateng, and there's this famous star that we have as a diasporian in Korea.
In Korea?
Yes, a Ghanaian star in Korea. He can't walk the streets of Korea without being mad, And she's been here. I remember Katrina Fiku introducing me to him.
I see.
Way back in 2018 or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, serious. So they are coming from all over the place. And I suppose, he's complete Ghanaian. He went there to study. But he speaks the language so well, and he's such a big fan of the people out there. They really have taken to him. So yes, I suppose this is not just going to be limited in the field of music and art and entertainment, but even in the field of sports. Right. Franco Doi, footballer coming over, Kingston. WWF coming over. So yes, the queue is endless. Right. So I'm not surprised. Like I'm saying, the real thing that we have done is to position Ghana as the place to be, the place to come to. If you think you're African, the president has been saying it on all platforms. As long as you're black, you're an African. Koti Peter Tosh. As long as you want to come to Africa, come to Accra.
going back to the
Coming to
roots.
Ghana.
Of course, Ghana is a
Yes.
gateway to Africa.
Exactly, yes.
So, and of course, the flagship for Pan-Africanism. So it's in order. Thank you so much,
Thank
Director,
you
for
so
talking
much
to
as well.
us. We really appreciate this. Final word?
Final word. I'm so glad that organizations like yours, Harriet. I want to mention your name, Harriet Nati.
Yes.
And your team. You're doing so marvelously well. Not just working for your organization, but working for the country. I know how we've been following your programs all over, and we know how important you are in projecting and being, talking about all these projects that we need to have as a country with other embassies. The Diaspora Affairs Office is very grateful for what you do. We will continue to work with you going forward. To the general public, we are going to give a message of, thanks to them in support of all the patronization that they give to the programs and activities that we organize in the country. We will continue to offer more with their support, with their prayers, and continue to position Ghana as the place to be. And we know that this is not just about parties. So in the recent development, organizations are coming together and thinking about, I think today I must attend another program where we are looking at beyond the party. Beyond the party is an organization that is, getting, fleshed out, and they will be looking to see how they can fulfill some clear objectives of the beyond the return, living legacies that, everybody should be proud of and would eventually contribute towards the socio-economic development of our country. So we are glad and we are happy that, we have partners like you working alongside to get everything done. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is for God and country.
Exactly.
And thank you for your time. Right, so it's all about using, I would term it as using the intangibles to get the tangibles. And it's soft power diplomacy. It works amazingly depending on which angle you are taking it from. And I think so far the Diaspora Affairs Office, together with other stakeholders, have done amazing by putting Ghana on the map, the global map. And so now the world can just pay attention. Wait and see what next we have up our sleeves. And so it's been great so far. We've seen so many names coming, and we are looking forward to more bigger things when it comes to putting Ghana out there. My name is Harriet Nati. The show is Diplomatic Affairs, and it's been so nice having you as our guest. We'll see you same time next week.